are going to hear a story. It's got wonderful illustrations, and it's called The Last Straw. Now, I don't have any particular person in mind with this story, and I've told it with lots of children, but it's about an old, feeble camel. All right? And I fit in right with the old people. So are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Can you all hear me? Okay. I used to be able to yell across the football field to my son. He said, "I can hear your voice among." I was so embarrassed. Hoshmaka, the old camel, was asleep in the desert night. He dreamed of all the water in the world and a hump that would hold an entire sea. Hearing voices, Hoshmaka opened one eye. "Hoshmaka, Hoshmaka!" Reluctantly, Hoshmaka opened the other eye. "Why should I wake up?" he grumbled. The sand whirled up into the moonlit sky. "You have been chosen," the voices whispered. The sand seemed to sift again. "You will carry gifts to a baby king." "Who are you?" Hoshmaka wanted to know, for he was an old camel and felt he had earned his sleep. "You will carry frankincense, myrrh, and gold. The wise men have chosen you." Here he is. Poor little guy. Don't you feel like him sometimes? Don't let me get up. Hoshmaka got up very slowly. "Why me? If these men are so wise, don't they know about my joints, my gout, my sciatica? Why did you say, what did you say I'm to carry? How much will it weigh? Besides, I have other commitments. There's the water drinking competition in Rangel. Then I really must go to the cud chewing competition in Beamish." The sand blew furiously, cutting into the black night. Hoshmaka was startled and decided he had better do as the voices said. Who knew what made the sand move like creatures with great wings? "When do I start?" he asked carefully. "Today." With that, the sand voices disappeared, and it was morning. There he is. Trying to get up. Well, sort of. Bring back this way to show you. The illustrations in this are just really super. I think we can all identify with this. Poor guy. It was still early as the servants of the wise men placed the precious gifts onto Hoshmaka's back. The young camels ran to their good friend. They all looked up to him because he was old, and they thought him wise. "You must be a very special camel," they sighed. "I am very special," Hoshmaka puffed out his chest in pride and then said something a little foolish. "I'm not so old. I'm still as strong as 10 horses, and I have been chosen to carry the rich gifts to the new baby king." "Can we come too?" added the youngest camel, who never wanted to be left behind. "Aren't we your friends?" shouted another. "You can walk beside me," Hoshmaka replied in his most regal voice, and the long journey began. This camel has an ego. At noon, a herd of mountain goats came into view. Hoshmakaw thought that they had come a long way from their mountain home in the north. "What is it you want?" Hoshmakaw called out. "We have heard tell of the new king who is to be born. Please take our humble gift with you. It's milk for the king." "You want me to carry milk?" Hoshmakaw sputtered in shock. "I am not a milk-bearing camel. I am not ordinary like you." The young camels chorused, "No, he's not ordinary." They looked up to him with their big brown eyes. "He's strong. Why, he's as strong as 10 or there's too good to carry milk. Hoshmakaw muttered to himself, "My joints, my gout, my sciatica." Aloud, he said grandly, "Give me your gift." Yeah. At 1 o'clock, he was stopped by a family of millers. "Look," said the youngest camel, "they're carrying bags of ground corn. Do you suppose they're for the new king?" "They will have to carry it themselves," Hoshmakaw replied. "They can follow that star like the rest of us." The young camels crowded around Hoshmakaw eagerly. "But you're so strong. You're as strong as 10 horses." Hoshmakaw felt weary just looking at the bags, but he said to the millers, "Give me your heavy bags. I'll carry them." At 2 o'clock, the next day, young ladies gave Hoshmakaw their fine silks. "Well, at least the cloth doesn't weigh anything," he thought. At 3 o'clock, an old man in fine clothes gave him 2 rare birds in silver cages. He's getting loaded down. At 4 o'clock, some merchants gave him pillars of oak that came all the way from Lebanon. At 5 o'clock, a group of bakers gave them their finest sweetmeats and pastries. At 6 o'clock, the sun finally went down and the crowds melted into the coming night. Hoshmakaw, grateful, sank into the sand in the kind darkness. He didn't have to pretend he was as strong as 10 horses. Hoshmakaw became aware that it didn't seem as dark as usual. He looked up and saw the splendor of the skies and the special brightness of the star he had been following. He fell asleep, wondering about the sand voices and the wings he thought he could almost see. But as the sun rose over the desert hills, it was hard to remember the wonder of that star. For the new day brought new pains and new burdens for Hoshmakaw. "I don't think I'm going to make it. I can't carry anymore. My legs are getting weaker. My gout, my sciatica, my joints. I'm too loaded down. Word of the caravan had spread like sand before a desert wind. People lined the route, holding up their gifts for Hoshmekah to take to the new baby king. There were jars full of honey and baskets of money. There were jewels and beads and large rolls of leather. And last but not least, there were 20 gallons of wine. Hoshmekah moaned to himself, "This will bring me to ruin, this fruit of the vine." But then the youngest camel cried out, "Look, there, it's Bethlehem. You've made it, Hoshmekah. You're as strong as 10 horses. Hoshmekah knew he could just do it if he didn't have to stop until he arrived at the spot beneath the star. He knew he could. He knew he could. Just then, out of the growing darkness, a small voice said, "I have a gift for the baby." Hoshmekah looked down on the tiny child. "Please, child, no more gifts. It has no weight. It's long and it's light. It's for the king who is born this night." "It's little," the child added. "Too little is too much," Hoshmekah whispered. "Didn't I hear them say you were as strong as 10 horses?" asked the child. "Well, yes, I am. Sort of. But my joints, my gout." Hoshmekah looked into the child's eyes and his heart melted. "Yes, child, give it to me, this smaller than small gift. What harm can it do? It's for its bed. It's all I have." "No problem at all," said Hoshmekah, bravely, if foolishly. All this time, Hoshmekah had kept walking because he knew if he stopped, he wouldn't be able to start again. Now he could see that the star shone down on a lowly stable. "Child, do it now. Place your straw upon my back as I approach the new king." It's the little boy with the last straw. Hoshmekah entered the stable. "My knees are loosening, my legs, they wobble, my back is breaking. Will this last straw cause me to fall?" And with that, Hoshmekah fell to his knees. "Oh my," he thought, "this is no way for a camel to behave. They will say that Hoshmekah is the weak camel. Hoshmekah, the proud camel, should not have traveled this far." The wise men noticed Hoshmekah. Quickly they too knelt. "They're mocking me now," falling on their knees, heads bent over like gnarled old trees. Then, from the humble manger, a tiny hand reached out and touched Hoshmekah. His pain seemed to disappear. He could no longer feel his burden. Hoshmekah whispered to the baby, "Hosanna from Hoshmekah. Accept these gifts kindly. They come from far and wide, brought by a beast who once acted blindly." From that time on, there was no burden, great or small, that Hoshmekah would not gladly carry. now it's time to choose another Christmas carol.
150.
150.